Welcome back to the explainer. So, look, we all have these deeply ingrained beliefs about how the world works, right? You probably think you're building a solid career right now. You likely believe that grinding through a standard 40-hour work week is the absolute hallmark of a responsible, productive, successful life. But according to the text we're breaking down today, believing a 40-hour work week is the hallmark of a successful life is actually your first and most dangerous mistake.
Are you building a career or serving a sentence? Man, it sounds intense, I know, but this question is specifically designed by the author to instantly shatter that illusion of stability we all cling to. It just drops us right into the thematic deep end of today's source material. We talk constantly about climbing the corporate ladder, right? But the text asks if we're completely ignoring the bars holding us in. We think we're making forward progress, but the source absolutely challenges us to question if the very structure of our week is actually, literally, a trap.
So, the crucial point is this quote right here. What you call stability is actually a century-old industrial cage. The author's boldest claim is that our modern, totally accepted idea of hard work is really nothing more than a slow, calculated drain on your existence. According to the text, we're basically giving away our life force under the guise of security. We're trading it for this concept of stability that, honestly, hasn't been updated in generations.
Section 1, the 1926 Industrial Protocol. Let's get right into the historical origins of this trap, because the text points out a terrifying reality. We are currently running a highly advanced 2026 life on an operating system designed in 1926. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. Henry Ford didn't implement the 40-hour work week out of some grand sense of social justice. No way. According to the source, he literally ran the numbers for factories and heavy machinery to find the sweet spot of human exhaustion. It was a completely cold calculation to see exactly how long a human body could weld steel before it physically collapsed. Men were measured by their muscles. But contrast that with our 2026 reality. We live in this digital landscape with instant 5G global connectivity. Our value is measured by our minds now, not our muscles. And yet the author argues we're still forcing this rusted industrial ruler from the age of steam and coal onto modern cognitive work. Measuring minds the same way we measured physical endurance? The text presents that as completely absurd.
Section 2, the survivalist equation. Okay, let's dive into this and look at the brutal math of our modern week to see how it actually stacks up against human freedom.
Here is your week, broken down into 168 hours. First, we subtract 40 hours for labor. Boom, gone. We subtract another 10 hours just for the commute, traveling back and forth to the place of labor. Gone. Then we got to remove 56 hours for the basic, non-negotiable biological necessity of sleep. So, what are you left with? You're left with a 62-hour slice that the text vividly calls the mirage of free time. It seems like a lot of time on paper, but as the source argues, this freedom is a total illusion.
Let's completely dissect the weekend to understand exactly why those remaining hours are just an illusion. We're told, and we generally believe, right, the expectation that Saturday is for pursuing our dreams and Sunday is for genuine rest. But the source points out a very, very different reality. Saturday is actually spent just recovering from the severe cognitive depletion of the work week. You're literally just trying to get your brain back to baseline. And Sunday, the author argues it isn't true rest at all. It is entirely consumed by that encroaching existential dread of Monday morning. In this view, your weekend isn't freedom. It's merely maintenance time. It's just there to keep you functional enough to return to the assembly line. Which leads us directly to this incredibly chilling reality from the text. The system gives you just enough to survive, but never enough to build a way out. Just let that sink in for a second. The author describes it as a perfectly calibrated trap. The system gives you just enough money to pay your bills and survive, and just enough rest so you don't physically or mentally break down. But the argument here is that it deliberately never gives you enough of either to actually escape. According to the source, the modern paycheck isn't designed to set you free. It's specifically designed to ensure your return to the cage.
Section 3. Office work as performance. Because the modern workplace has really devolved into a stage for performance art rather than a place of actual output.
Think about it. If we aren't doing grueling factory work anymore, what exactly are we doing all week? Well, research highlighted in the text shows a staggering metric: less than 3. According to the data presented, the average office worker is actually productive for less than 3 hours a day. Out of an entire 8 or 9 hour shift, the source claims there are less than 3 hours of actual meaningful cognitive output. That is wild. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is if we're only truly working for less than 3 hours, what are the other 5 or 6 hours for? Well, the text argues that we are performing presence. We're actively rearranging browser tabs just to appear occupied. We're sitting in endless meetings that absolutely 100% could have been emails. We're doing all of this simply to satisfy an outdated system that measures the chair rather than the actual result. According to the author, we spend the majority of our days just looking busy to appease an invisible 1926 foreman. Section 4, the punishment loop. Let's shift gears and look at the totally paradoxical way modern jobs treat highly skilled or fast workers. Because what happens if you decide to break the mold and become highly efficient? You master the cognitive tasks, you finish them quickly. Does the system honor your skill by giving you true freedom or letting you go home early? No way. According to the text, the system exploits your speed. Instead of true freedom, you're rewarded with more work. The author contends that we've built this framework where efficiency isn't rewarded with time back in your life. It's actively penalized with a heavier burden, just to keep you in that chair for the full 40 hours.
This brings us to one of the author's most poignant arguments. We are trading our most vibrant years for a paycheck that disappears into the bills of our own confinement. The text really asks us to think about the timeline we just blindly accept. We are essentially promised our freedom at age 65, at a point when the body is often way too broken to actually use that freedom. The source asserts that we are sacrificing our absolute best, most vibrant years simply to maintain the very cage that holds us.
Section 5. The cage is open. Because the belief that suffering equals productivity is not a legitimate business principle. The author frames that belief as a cultural wound, and the text concludes with this incredibly powerful call to action. The cage is open. Stand up. The author argues that this is just an arbitrary rule from 100 years ago that we've blindly accepted as absolute truth. They're urging us to stop acting like prisoners in a cage that has actually been unlocked for decades. We are presented as the ones keeping the door shut. So based on everything we've just uncovered in this source material, the author leaves us with one final, deeply provocative thought to consider. If the door has been open this whole time, why are you still sitting inside?